Hi, hello, welcome to Spell Day. We're covering a spell every single day of the year from the 5e PHB +3. Those +3 spells are homebrew spells. We're at +2 at the moment. You can back and playlist to find them. And today's spell is Prismatic Wall.
It's starting to even look like a triple rainbow. Oh my god, it's full on double rainbow all the way across the sky.
9th level Abjuration, casting time of 1 action, range of 60 feet, commands verbal somatic, duration 10 minutes. A shimmering multicolored plane of light forms a vertical opaque wall up to 90 feet long, 30 feet high, and 1 inch thick, centered on a point you can see within range. Alternatively, you can shape the wall into a sphere up to 30 feet in diameter, centered on a point you choose within range. The wall remains in place for the duration. If you position the wall so that it passes through a space occupied by a creature, the spell fails. Your action and the spell slot are wasted. The wall sheds bright light out to a range of 100 feet and dim light for an additional 100 feet. You and creatures you designate at the time you cast the spell can pass through and remain near the wall without harm. If another creature that can see the wall moves to within 20 feet of it or starts its turn there, the creature must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or become blinded for 1 minute. Oh. The wall consists of 7 layers, each with a different color. When a creature attempts to reach into or pass the wall, it does so 1 layer at a time through all the wall's layers. As it passes or reaches through, the creature must make a dexterity saving throw or be affected by that layer's properties as described below. The wall can be destroyed, also 1 layer at a time, in order from red to violet, by means specific to each layer. Once a layer is destroyed, it remains so for the duration of the spell. Anti-magic field has no effect on the wall, and dispel magic can only affect the violet layer. Oh no. Red, the creature takes 10d6 fire damage on a failed save or half as much damage on a successful one. While the layer is in its place, non-magical ranged attacks can't pass through the wall. The layer can be destroyed by dealing at least 25 cold damage to it. So this is actually interesting, having different methods to actually break through it. This is fun. Because if this ever comes up in your games, though I don't know, I can't recall, because it's a 9th level. It's hard to pass up some other just damage spell for something purely offensively defensive. Big thing is this is an action. That's what really hurts. But the first layer stops any ranged, or non-magical ranged attacks, from passing through it, and it just takes 25 cold damage. If you're fighting a bunch of mundane creatures, that's pretty nice. And if you're bumping up against it as a player, the question I'd have is if your characters would even know these specific things to break through the wall. Maybe an Arcana check and they could get it, but I don't know. Just how often does it come up that, like the center of a Tootsie Pop, you actually break down to the inside? Orange, the creature takes 10d6 acid damage on a failed save or half as much damage on a successful one. While this layer is in place, magical ranged attacks can't pass through the wall. The layer is destroyed by a strong wind. Magical ranged attacks now can't get through it. That's pretty good. That counts spells and cantrips and potentially magical ammunition. But also, all our wind and elemental spells actually get some use here. Good old props for Gust. So really, if you don't have a wind spell, you can't break through it. I don't know why I'm so... I just feel a sense of pride for everyone who picks up those wind spells. Yellow, the creature takes 10d6 lightning damage on a failed save or half as much damage on a successful one. This layer can be destroyed by dealing at least 60 force damage to it. Okay, trying to remember other force spells. Wardenkind Sword for 1. Ugh. We have Magic Missile as well. I don't know how many first level spell slots you're going to be spamming to get up to 60 damage though, because 60 damage is a lot. Which is where, over time, Eldritch Blast comes in, because it's a cantrip. And it does pretty decent at late levels. It's a harder damage type to come across just regularly. For 60 of it against that one. I guess Disintegrate. Disintegrate does force damage. Green, the creature takes 10d6 poison damage on a failed save or half as much damage on a successful one. A pass wall spell or another spell of equal or greater level that can open a portal on a solid surface destroys this layer. Open a portal on a solid surface. Does Fabricate count as well? Also weird, like, hey, Passwall's got some direct mention. Strange enough. But I'm trying to think of what other, because most of the other times of things that can move material, it's targeting specifically dirt or rock. Would that count for this? I don't think so. Blue, the creature takes 10d6 cold damage on a failed save or half as much damage on a successful one. This layer can be destroyed by dealing at least 25 fire damage to it. Alright, a nice simple one. It's the cold damage again with the inverse of the 25 fire. Starts with the easiest, ends with some of the easiest. At least in the damage rounds, we still got 2 more to go. Indigo. On a failed save, the creature is restrained. It must then make a Constitution saving throw at the end of each of its turns. If it successfully saves 3 times, the spell ends. If it fails, it saved 3 times, it permanently turns to stone and is subjected to the petrified condition. The successes and failures don't need to be consecutive. Keep track of both until the creature collects 3 of a kind. While this layer is in place, spells can't be cast through the wall. Ooh, the layer is destroyed by bright light shed by a daylight spell or similar spell of equal or higher level. That's an interesting one. The fact that it's, because I took magical attacks as well, so that must mean magical ammunition or cantrips count? I think cantrips would count as one of those spells or effects. So really, marshals, and then marshals with magical items, after the first 2 layers are destroyed, can shoot through it. But outside of that, you're already so many layers down to just be able to get spells into the area. That's actually pretty nice defense though, because then it's kind of an anti-magic, it's kind of like Resilient Sphere. Not really, because you can break through it, but you have that protection from magical effects from outside of it. And then also, yes, being petrified while in the wall still, or at least in the restrained condition. That's not good, because that's 3 more rounds while you're still just half in, half out, I think. Or would you rule it that you technically passed through it? You're just suffering that consequence? Because don't you make a save? You make a save 1 layer at a time to see whether you get through. If just before you get to the final layer, you then get the restrained condition. Do you even pass through? Violet. On a failed save, the creature is blinded. It must... Oh no. Then make a wisdom saving throw at the start of your next turn. A successful save ends the blindness. If it fails that save, the creature is transported to another plane of the DM's choosing and is no longer blinded. Typically, a creature that is on a plane that isn't its home plane is banished home, while other creatures are usually cast into the astral or ethereal planes. Slayer is destroyed by a dispel magic spell or similar spell of equal or higher level that can end spells and magical effects. Well, there we go. Yep, we're seeing our good old, plane shift fight ender again. But I mean, come on! The blindness for 1 round? That's just insult to injury. You already got to make the save again to double check. Why the blindness? It's kind of icing on the cake that you went through all these hurdles and all these different spells to then just finally be able to use Dispel Magic, and specifically be called to use Dispel Magic on the final layer. Though, alright, now actually talking about uses of this spell by characters, I guess. When it comes to players, because this can be used as an action, oh man, trap things. 60-foot range, 30-foot radius bubble? 30 feet in diameter bubble. Or dome, I guess. Wraps around it, creature's there. Well, I guess that is an issue if it's a burrowing creature, then it could get out. But then again, it would still be blinded! And that's also a nasty thing, is when you walk up to it and you fail that initial Constitution saving throw, when you get too close and you can see it. If it's not, like, if this is an enemy casting it against you, or if it's an enemy running up to it, okay, someone not allowed to just see through it, that's a solid minute. There's no repeat save. They're just entirely blinded for a minute. So even in the middle of a battlefield, when a creature doesn't get hit by this, you can zigzag this wall. Blind, I don't know, half the room. And as they're running around fighting, and, I mean, go wild. Give shove actions, give false voices of command. They're all blind. Just kick them over into the giant rainbow wall of death. And the bubble one as well, is I can't... Either to protect yourself, because I can't think of anything wanting to come into that, or trapping a creature inside it, which is so nice because you have the benefit of Dispel Magic only affects the last internal layer, and then each one after that also has its own specific need to be stopped. Yeah, this only lasts 10 minutes, but it's 10 minutes without concentration. So if you're the caster on the inside, that's... Depending on what you can do in 10 minutes, any buff spells you need to cast, anything you need to prep, any potions you need to use, any scrolls you're going to read out. Putting around the enemy, it's prepping for when they get out again. Because you can also hold concentration on something else, which is so nice. And the fact it's an action. And it's a larger area, so if you designate your friends and allies, and the enemy's not allowed, so they're blind trying to look in and see what you're doing, that's nice. Honestly, a little more utility than Prismatic Spray. The issue is the level. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is these are a nasty collection of effects. And like a villain using it, or having it in a glyph of warding somewhere as a booby trap, nasty, terrible things. Player picking it up though? Because you just stop a fight for 10 minutes, without just teleporting, which would do a similar thing. Then have the benefit of you actually getting out of there. 7 out of 10, because it's got a lot of good effects. but it's a stationary 8 out of 10? It's not a player spell is what I'm getting at. This is a villain spell, or setting up in a trap or magical hazard. Because it's really good, but the spell slot is what's bringing it down. And the fact that a player's not going to pick it up. The fact that seeing a villain in dungeon using it, though, is bumping it back up to 8 from 7. 7 out of 10? 7 out of 10. I've been really generous lately. Because most people just pick up Meteor Swarm or something for 9th. I mean, there's Wish as well right next to it. It's an action, though. You could trap something like that. There's no save for 8. Going back to 8, because it's an action to cast and has a range. And you can set it up as a wall and move that wall, and a bubble has that additional utility in the different situational uses of either defense or offense. Trap or hazard. Those last two are kind of the same, I know, but go with that.